welcome to our show where we seek to discuss and inform you on topics relating to nutrition and behavior. I'm your host, Terry Perkins, and our special excerpt for this show is Mr. Craig Gordon. He has over 44 years of experience in biochemistry, addiction, behavior, and disease. He also runs an organization called NEAD, which stands for Nutrition and Exercise versus Addiction and Disease. So Craig, thank you. Let's get into our episode, which is titled, What are the biggest words in addiction and criminal justice?
Biggest words in addiction is relapse. The statistics are terrible. The biggest word in criminal justice is recidivism. So addiction, if you just do the typical programs out there, and I'm not going to name names, but there's some big ones, the statistics are terrible. Historically, they've been around 2.7% for alcoholism and about, less than 1% for hard drugs, meaning crystal meth, heroin, cocaine, and the narcotics and so forth. So we're in a lot of trouble with all that historically. It's gotten slightly better, but this is, 1%, 3%, small numbers compared to the majority. So relapse is characterized by falling off the wagon, they call it, and you're back to, the coffee, sugar, and cigarettes where you started, because we all were raised on all sorts of sugar and junk food.
Right.
And then we fall off the wagon, here we go again. So malnutrition drives the story. So the statistics remain terrible. And, addiction with biochemistry is, my friend Joan started a program 40 years ago. She lost her son to suicide. She got real upset about it, obviously, and started researching, came up with a program, invented a program, started a program in Minneapolis called Health Recovery Center. They did what she called a biochemical restoration and repair. And what she would do is help people get healthy. Instead of going to all the regular meetings, the AA meetings, the NA and CA, which she really didn't do much with, she would focus them on rational emotive therapy and all sorts of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients straight into your blood, even through an IV in her clinic, where she would do various drips into your arm. You'd be sitting there with the bag up here and so forth. And she had amazingly good results. So there is a way to do this, to jump from 3% to 50% or more, make it long term. It's the long-term numbers we're looking at, because that's what relapse is all about.
Right.
So we want to, God forbid, get people healthy, get rid of the coffee, sugar, and cigarettes, the physical dry drunk syndrome, which preclude you from doing what I call the mental Olympics in early recovery. You can't do them because your brain's not working with you.
So let's get onto slide 326 and then get into recidivism.
So our society's nightmare concerning addiction and crime is relapse and recidivism. Recidivism with crime is reoffending. You get caught, you're back in the system. And, society is doing everything they know of to date to try and divert you from the prison system and try and help you and try and focus you on treatment. But treatment doesn't usually take nutrition seriously, nor does criminal justice. So this has to be a whole lot more robust in its presentation availability. And people need to understand that the biochemistry rules the brain, and the brain is your decision maker. And if that's broken, you're going back to prison.
Well, can you break down biochemistry as well? Like make it simple for us who are new
Well,
to this.
it's complicated and simple. Your body is the great scorekeeper.
Okay.
It remembers everything on a cellular level, good and bad. So if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're existing, not living on coffee, sugar, cigarettes, junk food, fast food,
Lack
a
of
variety
exercise.
of everything that people seem to go after and we think is normal, then it doesn't support brain activity.
Okay.
So your brain's not working right, you're making bad decisions yesterday and yesteryear and paying a very severe consequence because your brain's not right, you're making bad decisions, and you're obsessive compulsive and you get all anxious and reactive to all sorts of stimuli from a variety of sources, family, friends, business, work, people, whatever, even driving on the highway, and you get yourself in trouble. It doesn't have to be that way. You could calm down. You could think clearly. You could say, I don't want to get involved in all that drama. It's not worth it. And are crimes worth getting involved with? Or being with the wrong people worth getting involved in? Not a good idea. So here we go.
Right. So you're saying that there's a direct correlation between nutrition and our behavior.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's the big thing here. So if we were more conscious of how we eat and exercise.
Well, it's eating healthy, it's hydration, and it's exercise.
Okay.
Like I say every day to different people, drink water and be grateful for it. Drink lots of water. It's good for you. We need that hydraulic fluid in our bodies. We don't need all the other caffeines and the sugars and the dairy and so forth. We need water.
So let's get into our next slide. That's 272. And that one kind of, it goes into it some more.
So I've been studying this for so long. You have no idea. I was doing work for the White House on drug abuse policy in the mid-'80s.
Nice.
For the Reagan administration. And I'm really looking at this, obviously, holistically. And then you think about what's going on out there and why. And has anybody ever talked to the typical person on the street about nutrition and violence? Nutrition and addiction. Nutrition and diabetes. That's a little more obvious. And chronic disease, a little bit more obvious, but not crime, not addiction, not diabetes. And people are missing the connections between the two. Big food, beverage, and pharma would sooner shoot you than shake your hand. They're not here for your nutrition or your kids or your well-being. They're here for $1.
Right.
And they take especially big advantage of African Americans and Spanish people and all immigrants because they don't know any better. They come to America, oh, now we're free. We can do anything we want. Does that mean you're free to eat mountains of junk food and pound the cerveza and all the other garbage that's out there and then all the juices and juice drinks?
You can see too, just, you go into these places where there's poverty and you won't find a lot of fruits and vegetables and whole foods like that. You see the junk food and the fast food chains, multiple down the street.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was 58%. It's probably more like 65% of all Americans now spend half of their food budget on ultra-processed food you could buy in a gas station.
Wow.
Could you only imagine the net effect of all that garbage on your body/brain because it's one unit?
And that's good for our next slide, 297 as well. I feel like that goes right with it.
So how are you going to have good mental health without good physical health? It's not possible. If you don't eat well, hydrate properly, exercise, which is introduce oxygen, and raise your blood pressure in a good way and distribute that oxygen and nutrient to your body, to your extremities, like nature intended, then we're good. Then we're getting somewhere. Then we're building a body, building a brain, building a life. Instead of, shooting yourself in the foot once again, because your body is pissed off at you, then your brain's not working. Okay, here we go again. Oh, it was an accident. No, it wasn't. It was not an accident. Okay? A lot of these things are unintended consequences that we suffer from poor food and hydration choices and a lack of exercise.
Okay. So let's get into the current trends in reentry, because I feel like we could spend a lot of time on recidivism, but what's going on now? How are we dealing with this
Well,
issue?
it's kind of sad. I've been fighting and arguing and educating and trying to talk to reentry in my area, in Bridgeport, and other areas that I've been to. And it seems to be all about housing and jobs.
Okay.
And so little attention has been paid to nutrition, even in the court systems, zero or very little to do with it. In various job opportunities and funnels or mechanisms that help people get jobs coming out of prison, and to help youth at risk, and almost zero zip nada on nutrition. So they're missing a huge opportunity where if we could help facilitate and help young people and people in the system participate in recovery and participate in nutrition as well, now we're talking turkey, like we used to say. Now we've got something to work with, and you're building your capacity mentally and physically so that you can handle more responsibility, so you can process and retain more information. So it begins to make sense in early recovery. I call it doing the mental Olympics in early recovery. And that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. Because the statistics in the programs are terrible. They could be upgraded almost overnight by getting, like very serious and participatory on nutrition and exercise.
So why do you think the changes haven't been made yet? Because the research has been done, right? We have Barbara Reed-Stitt, her book, so why are we ignoring this, you think?
Well, here's a reason right here. See this $100 bill? See the 100 on the back? That represents the $3 trillion of money that big food, beverage, and pharma gross in a year. See the penny right here? $100 bill and a penny. That penny represents a mathematical term called a basis point. A basis point is 1% of 1%, or 1/10,000th of the whole number. In this case, just for the camera, we're looking at a $100 bill. The penny represents 1 basis point. So the $100 bill in this case is $3 trillion. Okay, 3 trillion with a T. The penny, 1 basis point of 3 trillion is $300 million. So could you imagine you've got a huge stack of pennies that represents 10% of the $100 bill. You got 1,000 pennies. That's $10. That's 10% of this. That's $300 billion. 300 billion. Staggering amounts of money. You couldn't count it in the rest of your lifetime just about. You couldn't go through it all. And that kind of influence to our public through the mediums, with advertising, with public relations, with education, if you want to call it education, a lot of it's biased, causes a huge mismatch between someone like myself talking about how important nutrition is and how big food, beverage, and pharma want you to believe that all their products are wonderful and you deserve them. And hello, campers, how many times are we going to be hoodwinked, lied to, conned, cheated, and stolen from until we finally get the message that they don't care, we have to care. We have to take responsibility, and we have to really look at nutrition and exercise and healthy food and hydration for what it should be and is, and how important it is for us to do our thing, for us to be the captain of our own ships, to make good decisions instead of bad ones.
So let's get to slide 148, and then the one after that I feel like goes perfect with what you just said. But this slide here.
So this is a really interesting one done by my friend Barbara, who's now unfortunately deceased. She would be 95. She was doing this stuff in the 70s.
Wow.
Okay? She wrote this book called Food and Behavior. It's unbelievable. I have these available if anybody wants them. And Barbara spent 50 years studying biochemistry and addiction and behavior, and started probably 10 years before I did. And so she eventually, could you pull that slide back up? She eventually does a study, 1,100 adults, first and second offenders, on probation, standing in front of the judge. And Barbara, the judge would say, you do exactly what Barbara tells you, especially the diet and the exercise, or I have to throw the key away on you. So Barbara's this wonderful, nice lady from the Midwest. She has this book, Food and Behavior. She has this book, The Nutritional Guidelines for Correcting Behavior. And these books knock the ball out of the park. They tell you exactly what you need to know to start to eliminate what I call the obvious insults out of your diet, and to start including healthy food rather than what you're used to. And it might not be that different. Maybe it's just a little bit healthier version. Or maybe you cook it a little differently. Or maybe you eat something a little more than or less.
Right.
But you're tweaking your diet toward health. You're adding hydration, which is water, nothing else. The else is garbage usually. It's done nothing but for a profit, for the money, okay? And, nobody cares but you and your family. You have to be the food detective. You have to learn about it and take care of yourself.
Right. So that brings us to our next slide, which is 283, and that talks about the responsibility that or the personal responsibility that you were mentioning.
Well, the healthier you are, the better off the rest of your family's going to be. So you could be the example. You could be part of the solution. You could be a big part of your community. You could take the responsibility you'd like to take. And maybe that feels a whole lot better and different than doing the same old thing, which is the coffee, sugar, cigarettes, beer, wine, booze, drugs, prescription drugs, the stuff that might not be so good for you. Get healthy while the getting's good. Take care of yourself. Be serious about it. Be consistent about it. Go for 2 walks a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night, 20 minutes like you're late for the train.
Right.
Have some respect and ethics for your own body. This is how we make it in recovery.
So we focused a lot on relapse, we focused on recidivism, we talked about the current measures. Let's get into some more encouragement. let's get into, how people can continue to, or at least make strides towards doing better. So we have another slide, and I believe that one is 352. So we can get more into that.
So where do you want to be in a year from now? You could easily be in a far better place. You know how fast a year goes by. Mm-hmm. Goes by like a missile. And these are your choices. Nobody is forcing you to eat healthy or eat poorly. Mm-hmm. That's your choice. Nobody's forcing you to drink, monster drinks and Sunny D and all this other, and Tang and all the other stuff that we used to drink. That you think are healthy, but they are not, because they're loaded with sugar. Sugar is your worst enemy. Mm-hmm. You do not want sugar. Your body makes sugar slowly and naturally from vegetables and proteins and other sorts of things, and even a little bit of fruit. And your body understands. It works. It's a darn miracle, and you just have to respect it.
Right.
So.
And our next slide is 325. We're going to kind of power through them because I want to make sure we get to them.
So my friend Joan, who did the rehab in Minneapolis that talked about biochemistry and biochemical restoration and repair, mm-hmm. would say that their recoveries are wobbly at best if they don't get healthy. Mm-hmm. So if you don't get rid of the coffee, sugar, and cigarettes, if you don't start taking multivitamin, multimineral for men or for women accordingly, if you don't start learning about nutrition and taking care of your body, how's your brain going to work? And how are you going to work your program and do what you got to do and get healthy? Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of what you do personally to participate in your health as well as your treatment program.
Mm-hmm. And our next slide is 304. That one as well.
So your job is to get really healthy, period. And that should be a big part of your daily routine. What can I do to get more healthy and achieve more optimal health? So these are fundamentals mm-hmm. that everybody should understand and know. And they're particularly important if you're a youth at risk, if you're coming out of prison, if you're in a recovery program, if you're in a methadone maintenance program, if you're in a number of different situations, if you're in mental health situations. Mm-hmm. And so now we have what we call nutritional psychiatrists that use nutrition, exercise, and vitamins rather than psych drugs and talk therapy, and they get you healthy.
Okay.
And God forbid your mental stuff, your anxiety, depression, irritability, etc., diminish, and you're manageable, mm-hmm. and you're doing much better.
Okay. And I think we can fit in probably one last slide, but that is 225.
So your health should be your priority. Nutrition is powerful medicine. This isn't rocket science. Let's be more serious about this.
Yes.
It's not that hard to figure out. If I can help in some way, let's do that.
All right. So Craig, today we learned on this episode what the biggest words in addiction and criminal justice are. It's relapse and recidivism. So let's do a recap on the slides that we went over.
So we start with recidivism, reoffending, getting caught, and why is that? And it's so popular because of addiction and malnutrition.
All right, next slide.
Our society's nightmare and the ongoing horrid statistics are relapse and recidivism. We need to get a whole lot more serious about nutrition. We can't hope it away, pray it away, talk it away, punish it away, or medicate it away. It ain't going away like that, obviously. Mm-hmm. So here we go.
Okay, next slide.
could all these things that you're looking at, violence, poverty, addiction, mental health, diabetes, chronic disease, cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, and a whole bunch of other things, all be symptoms of malnutrition? And malnutrition is poor eating habits, lack of hydration, and lack of exercise.
Next slide.
How can there be good health, mental health, without good physical health?
Self-explanatory.
If you were listening, it's obvious. Next slide. Barbara's study of 1,100 people standing in front of the judge. And did I mention, by the way, that her nutrition program got an 89% success rate of people never going back in front of the judge? Do you have any idea what even half of that would do for criminal justice and our families, and preventing and advocating for victims of crime in advance? Next. Healthier you are, the better off your family is. Be the example. Next. Where do you want to be from a year from now? Here we go. Up to you. Go ahead.
Next slide.
Optimal health is what we are striving for. It has to be part of the program. Next. Get healthy is your job number one. Next. At any age, your health is your priority. Powerful medicine. Next. Feed them poorly, dumb them down. Feed them healthy, watch them soar. Next. Don't smoke sugarettes. Next. NEAD is here to supply critical support. Thank you for listening. My name's Craig. I appreciate you. Good luck.
Our next episode is Alcohol, the Ultimate Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Make sure to check that out and check out his website, needusa.org.